All right, next one. We're gonna look at media experimentation for chalk pastels. So chalk pastels are usually square and they are essentially sidewalk chalk for adults. They tend to be more brightly colored and a little bit less crumbly than sidewalk chalk that you might buy normally. And you can find them in, of course, a variety of colors, and they all tend to get quite dirty and weirdly misshapen. So if you ever find some that's all kinds of funky and small, don't worry about it. That's just how they go. They shave themselves down. They are quite dusty on your fingers. Even just holding them, I've got a little bit of dust on me. So if that particular texture bothers you, you might want to use gloves. All right, so first things first, I'm gonna grab my Sharpie. Do write all of your words with Sharpie first, or some kind of pen. If you plan on using Sharpie anywhere near your chalk pastels, write with that first before using your chalk pastels on top. It does not play friendly together. The chalk clogs up the felt tip pen and it doesn't work anymore. So first, second, first, second, first, second, first, second. Got it? Good. Yeah. All right, so let's look at mark making with chalk pastel. Chalk pastel, just like any other material, can be used in a variety of ways. One way you can make broad marks is to slide using the side of your chalk. You do end up with very wide strokes this way. You can use more flicking kind of motions and stronger, thicker lines. More pressure with your chalk pastel or less pressure will change what it looks like just a little bit. If you find smaller pieces or sharp edges, you can get very fine little lines, but it does dull really, really quickly because, you know, it just crumbles that way. If you find that something has a lot of gross color on it, let me see if I can find a yellow one that might be illustrating. If you find that a color has a lot of other colors on it, there's a couple different ways to clean it. One, you can just wipe it all off. That does end up with your finger being dirty, but it does wipe generally pretty well. You can also go off to another area of your paper or onto a spare sheet of paper and just kind of scribble the color off, just like we do with the colored pencils. But practice with making different marks, little tick marks, flat marks, thin marks, marks that overlap one another. You can see how that kind of mixes as it goes. It does not stay in place. You might try taking a color and making a mark and then smearing it a little. You might put the color onto your finger and then color with your finger instead. Do whatever kind of marks your heart fancies. Try and get at least some of each of the ones that I've shown. But practice and play and do what you can. Maybe draw a little picture to get some practice marks going. You want a variety of ways that you're using the pastel on the paper. The second thing that we're going to look at is blending. Blending with chalk pastel is, as you might imagine, quite easy because it does smear quite well. So first things you're going to do is lay down some color. Now what you're going to notice is that there's a lot of this chalk dust that appears on your paper anytime you do anything with your chalk pastel. And that is a-okay, that's fine. But be aware of it because you don't want to breathe it in. And two, if you try and brush off your paper like wha-cha, then you're going to smear something that you didn't want smeared. It's a little bit better to tap off your paper by picking it up and tapping it on the table. You can see my chalk dust right here. Or blowing it off if there's no one in front of you. But if your room is crowded, don't do that because you're going to end up with your chalk dust on someone else's paper. Then they're going to blow it onto your paper. And then it's just going to be a back and forth of, like, I don't know, the big bad wolf huffing and puffing here. So don't do that. Tap off if you can. All right, so now that I've tapped off some of my excess dust, that's just going to make it a little bit easier for me to blend. And you can blend with your finger. That works best if you have something like this where it's just one color. Or you can blend using the blending stumps like we used for graphite. If you're using one of the blending stumps, then by all means, make sure it is completely clean or as clean as you can possibly make it before using it, because that graphite dust will get into your colors and muddy them up and make them really kind of dull. So we want to make sure that is as clean as we can make it before we try and use it on any chalk pastels. So just cleaning that off on the sandpaper. I'm gonna give that another couple scrubs. All right, that looks pretty clean. So say that I want to use this because my fingers have other colors on them, like the green. I can come in here and I can smooth this color down. And it can be very, very smooth. I'm going to flip to the other side and I'm going to do my yellow like this. Same thing. It smooths out really, really easily. I'm not using really any pressure at all, and I've gotten rid of pretty much all of my white spots. Again, more chalk dust exists. I'm gonna tap it off, and there's a little bit left. Now, if I wanna mix two colors together, same sort of situation. I just want my colors to be on top of one another. So I'm going to put both of my colors there, and then I can use my little stump for blending. And I just want to drag those colors into one another just a little bit using this little tool. And again, I can also use my finger for this, but my fingers are dirty with another color, so I'm not going to do that. And again, chalk dust is going to exist, so you tap it off. All right, that's pretty much everything that you need to know.